Now we come to the second round of our event today, and since we are like, with time, it's always a challenge. But the question and answer session will have to be a little shorter because I really do want our speakers to have an opportunity to go to the second round and share more of their personal experiences. So the first speaker right now for the second round is DG Rajib Pokhrel ji. My question to you is, what inspired you to take up service for the community? As the district governor, you have been currently running to flood and landslide areas besides the COVID areas. In Sindhu Palchok, just this past week, we saw you in the helicopter helping people. What is your inspiration? And before I get Rajib ji on the screen, I want to tell our viewers, please send your questions, whether it's on the Zoom or in the Facebook. Please send your questions while we are doing the second round so it can be answered. Thank you. DG?
Thank you. I think that's mainly because I think it's the responsibility. And as a Rotarian, as a leader of two countries, Nepal and Bhutan, well, we have like close to 6,000. If we are to include the Rotaracts, Interacts, we are a family of more than 25,000. So I guess that's the responsibility. And this is the time, it's really good. Because day for yesterday, when we took that helicopter to this place in Sindhu Palchok, it is so heart-touching, like the way the people are living there. They literally have nothing. It's just a village, and half of the houses have been like just, like taken away by this slide, and these people have nothing there. I asked them, what a simple kodo khaira basa chante. We talk about so much about nothing, no economical activities, no nothing. The closest place where they could walk from there for anything to buy or for any economical activity would be like about 6 hours. And can you imagine walking up and down for 6 hours? So what I feel is, this is when these people were least interested on COVID. They were not bothered about COVID. In fact, there was somebody who told me Kathmandu bata ta सहयोगहरु आएको छ त्यो सहयोग सँगसँगै कोभिड पनि आउने हो कि क्या हो भनेर they were like more worried about that, but they were more worried about भोलि के खाने, what to eat tomorrow, what to have, so they had nothing. The kids who lost their parents, they're just small kids, we were just wondering who were going to look after them. We were there for 1.5 hours. So I guess these are the things that motivates us. These are the people where we should go. We should extend our hands, where we can go and help them, how you can help them. I've been seeing this, not only in COVID, like in the floods also is the same thing, the landslide is the same thing. People are in trouble, they are in trouble. And but the best part about these people is, what really motivates me is, I'm sure you also, whatever it is, hamro to Nepali harko euta character ho, they're still smiling. They're still laughing. You could see those villagers still smiling. They're still laughing. There are cars kiriyaharu bhairacha cha, anek kamharu bhairacha, different tensharma afno kisimle unhale kam gariracha nai, but that smile was always there. And so these are the things that really motivates you, that positive mind you have, and you think what you help them, what you give them today, maybe that is going to be certain help, unhai bholi rati sutnako लागि सजिलो होला, या केही अरु केही काम गर्न लागि उनीहरुलाई सजिलो होला. So that is the main thing that we talk, and that is why we are working on this अलिकति economical activities हरु बढाउनको लागि skill development का कुराहरु. So we are collaborating with a lot of with few organizations which will come out within a month or two, where we are going to sign with them and give them all this skill development का कुराहरु गरेर चाहिँ नि उनीहरुलाई चाहिँ नि at least भोलि गएर उनीहरु चाहिँ नि आफ्नो खुट्टामा उभिन सकुन् भन्ने कुरा. And that can be reflected easily when you go to this part of the world, this part of the country where you go. So these are the things that really motivates the responsibility, seeing these people how in what state they are, so these things that motivates us, and the most important thing I always say is enjoyment. I enjoy doing these things. Apart from my business, I've got my challenges. I've got a family. I've got a business to run. There's so many things I need to do. I have my bread and butter. I've got my kids who are very young. But I enjoy these things. So it's like I take these things parallelly. So these are the things. So that's what I want to tell the youths also. Try doing these things. Try doing things. Go to this community. Try doing things. When you get that response from them, You start enjoying that. When you see that positive response from them, that motivates you. So you always cannot have somebody to motivate you. If you want to be a leader, you always cannot have somebody to motivate you. You have to motivate yourself. And the work that you do, the service that you provide to these people, these things start motivating you. So that is what I think drives me to do all these things. Thank you.
Now my next question, panelist, is Munji. You spoke on investing in yourself and the various organizations that you have worked for and invested your time and effort. What to you is the best form of investing in yourself? And what are the key advice you'd like to share for youth today?
Thank you, Neeva, for that question. Of course, as I said earlier, I invested in myself by joining Toastmasters. In fact, earlier to that, I had done my bachelor's, but I hadn't done master's. And because I wanted to be more adept and more comfortable in management positions, I also invested in getting an MBA degree. But more importantly, what I feel and what you introduced to me actually, Neeva, is the well-being. No matter how much we learn or develop our skills, if we're not at inner peace, if we do not have that peace within ourselves, there's nothing we can do. There'll always be that turmoil in our mind. And one thing that really helped me during this time, even in COVID, I was thinking I would start something new. I had completed one project and I was not going to start another project, but was thinking about doing something new for myself. But COVID happened. I was shocked. I didn't know what to do now. I was in turmoil. I had to think about something, but I was going through a lot of stress. Your sister, Mikhadi, introduced me to this online happiness, which really, really helped. And I think everybody needs to have that inner happiness within ourselves. Unless we do that, you will not be a good leader. We are not good human beings. How can you be good leaders? I also attended your tips session. I may look like I'm promoting you, but that really helped me. I attended your Tapping Your Inner Potential session, where I really learned about how to maximize excellence as a leader, as somebody who is doing work. How do we maximize perfection? How do we maximize actually excellence? How do we do self-mastery and mind management, understanding the mind to bring out the desired attitude and outlook to life, to bring that balance, and to tap into our creativity and innovation also. Because unless we have that well-being within ourselves, that's not going to happen. And whatever you do, you might have, as I said earlier, you might have the knowledge, you might have the experience, but unless you have that inner peace, unless you have the well-being, you are not going to be able to move forward. And by learning how to manage myself, by actually doing one simple thing, that is learning how to breathe. Actually, I learned that you need to breathe, you need to calm yourself, and you need to not think about why is that other person doing what they are doing. You cannot think about the reason behind why they are doing whatever they're doing. Think whatever they did, fine, they did it. That's good for them. But what is the present? Be in the present. Do not think about the past. Do not think about the future. Be in the present. So that well-being, that managing of mind, that understanding that you have to be thinking about now. Unless you think about the now, if you're worried about your past or your future, you're really not going to be able to excel in whatever you are trying to excel in. Your work is going to be affected. Your personal life is going to be affected. You cannot move forward. So as a leader, you really need to be able to manage your mind. And that's one investment that I would really suggest that everybody gets into. Learn how to manage your mind. Learn how to breathe. Learn how to let go of everything else. Do not think about others. Think about why you are doing what you're doing, and learn that unless you have your well-being enhanced, nothing that you will do will really work out. I hope I answered your question, Neeva.
Thank you, Munji. Yes, that was really wonderful that you were able to join the Happiness and the Tips program. And I have heard you give testimony or feedback that it was the right timing for you. And really to share with everybody during this COVID time, just these past 3 months, there have been many volunteers, teachers with the Art of Living Foundation. I myself, a volunteer and facilitator. We started this holistic well-being. And around 44 trainers are involved all across Nepal, where we've almost reached 900 participants from at least 180 institutions, mainly frontline medical teams, doctors, nurses, and business houses, everyone. Everyone's saying like, you know, we need to have our mind centered before we can make decisions, before we can really move forward. So I'm really happy, and all my colleagues here from the Art of Living also, who have been really working hard at this very diligently. I want to thank each one of them who's here with me, and I want to now invite, let's see, Mr. Golchha, Shekharji. When situations out there is not looking very positive, where do you go next to find that strength to keep going? Books, TV, yes, we are watching a lot of TV, we are home. Mentors, what else? How do you keep your spirits up, Mr. Shekhar?
I keep my spirits up, Neeva, basically because I believe we are privileged that we are living in a land of opportunity. You know, I must share this with all the participants today. मैले झन्डै 60वटा जिल्ला घुम्ने मौका पाएँ. मैले त्यहाँ धेरै व्यवसाय उद्योगीहरूसँग पनि कुनै न कुनै किसिमले interaction गरेँ. But what I'm amazed about is the level of awareness and the level of knowledge which you know we have in, you know, even if we think of remotest place like Mugu or, you know, Jumla or somewhere, you know, but the level of awareness and intelligence is immense, you know, and the opportunities which I see there, whether it's tourism, whether it's agriculture, because of the biodiversity we have, is immense. And I think that is what keeps me very, very encouraged. And that is why I've taken up this leadership role as well. I'll be taking up as the president of the apex body of the private sector. And this is this passion which I have, that I know I want to create opportunities for the youth. मैले जसरी भए पनि opportunities-हरुलाई आफ्नो बिजनेसको मेरो जुन अनुभवहरु छन् त्यसलाई चाहिँ मैले त्यसलाई राखेर एउटा opportunities मैले पस्कन सक्यो भने, I think this is what has been motivating. I know it's difficult times, you know, I mean हामीले जतिसुकै बोल्दाखेरि पनि it is difficult times for all of us, but at these times there is something to keep your mental equilibrium all right. I think a few things which I do for myself is, one, I meditate. म बिहान कम से कम आधी घण्टादेखि 45 मिनटसम्म मेडिटेट गर्छु. I keep exercising whenever I get a chance. I keep running around the house. I do try to keep myself very fit. त्यसपछि I do watch a lot of movies. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I have also started reading a lot of books. And one book I'm reading is about Dalai Lama currently, and which I'm amazed by the knowledge he gives to the people. And you know, so I think in difficult times we need to keep ourselves busy, and we need to keep our mind working, and that's how I do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shekharji. Actually, each of your sharing is so inspiring, you know, and I hope these are some of the takeaways from the data as well as experiences and research findings that we've been doing. We'll now soon turn to question and answer, but before that, I would like to now invite Arun Joshi, Dr. Arun Joshi. I've known you for almost 2 decades, Dr. Arun, and I've found you to be calm, to be centered and peaceful. You seem to handle life's ups and downs in an even keel all the time. And my husband Rajesh will testify to it, because you both worked for the same institution at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. for many years. What is your source of happiness and peace? What would you do, and where do you go to tap this reservoir of energy?
Sorry, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Yeah, I organized the Can you also see you can see my screen as well. I organized the session differently. I mean, I was not going to speak so much about myself necessarily and how I handle the stresses. I think some of the things that Mr. Golchha said also resonates with me. I tend to find myself reasonably grateful for so many things that we have going for us, that whenever there is a stress or difficulties, I tend to reflect on that, because there are always others who have far less than us going for them. And no matter what condition you're in, I think you can keep that attitude. But I think because you requested it, I would like to, if possible, go through the rest of the slides, which is about 4 slides or 5 slides, which is more on the happiness angle. And there, I think basically the research again tells us that you can actually train to be happy. Happiness just doesn't come by accident. You can train yourself to be happier and happier and happier. And this comes not from the Western world so much, but from our own tradition and from our own subcontinent. And this is our tradition and our contribution to humanity, right? And we need to be able to, as youth particularly, I encourage all of you to be to do a critical review and try to understand and try to embody our own what we already have as our own. Of course, nowadays it's catching up more speed. You know, there's more yoga, there's more meditation, because now, of course, the Western world has also picked this up. You know, and there is more and more extensive research in the areas of neuroplasticity, for example, where they tell us that by training your mind in certain ways, you can actually train your brain. And there is also a lot of research on how a meditation helps impact your health, from blood pressure to all sorts of things. There's just a ton of research on that. However, I want to go a little bit even deeper than that, because there is a lot of work that in our part of the world that we've done on the area of happiness, that is just not only being stress-free, because there are always existential problems, right? No matter how much you relax a little bit, the issues of old age, disease, and death, as the Buddha taught us, is always going to be there. I would like to call that, it's an existential anxiety we always carry with ourselves. Because we could die anytime, we could have a terminal illness anytime, and so on and so forth. And that, how do you deal with something like that? You know, it's just not a simple solution. These are things that are out of our control, entirely out of our control. COVID crisis, similarly, you know, this is completely out of our control. How do you deal with these existential issues? And these are things that actually have been outlined by Bhagwan Buddha himself, probably the greatest citizen Nepal has ever produced, probably the most well-known citizen that Nepal has ever produced in the last 2,500 years. But we tend not to have understood him too much. And I encourage the younger youth to study what he has taught. And I'll take the 3 next slides to give you just in relation to what we have discussed and all the esteemed panelists have discussed, some of the things in relation to this. Okay, so one of the things that the Buddha said, the critical things that he said that is critically important for us to resolve our suffering and this existential anxiety, is by understanding the nature of reality. Okay, so by reality, we mean anything out there, that is the world out there, your own mind, all of that, and understanding it without the trappings of our conditionings or habitual tendencies, almost like a fresh child's perspective. If we can get to that, we resolve our problems, right? So reality as it is, of course, there are levels of understanding, but we need to understand the reality of suffering. the reality that everything changes, that is not permanent, including your own self, it goes against our own default view that we tend to see that self is real, reality is real and permanent and all that. The Buddha gave us this whole practice of Vipassana meditation. There are many forms of Vipassana meditation, not only one, but that is what one does to understand and develop wisdom. Okay. However, the next slide will tell you that one cannot fully comprehend and understand these points at a deep level unless our minds are very calm. So the Buddha said that the first thing to do is to calm the mind before you begin to understand deeply the nature of reality. You can't just suddenly jump and understand the nature of reality unless your mind is calm. It's like you can't see the moon reflected on the lake if the lake is very, very moving and is not calm. So in terms of calming the mind, here you have techniques of doing samatha meditation. You attain high levels of samadhi. This is available in other traditions too. In other traditions, you might have chantings, dancing, and all. In Buddhism, you have everything from breathing, focusing on objects. They can be external objects, internal objects. Mr. Golchha talked that he also meditates. Many of these types of meditations that we do are related to calming the mind. But in Buddhism, you see that after calming the mind and having these deep levels of joy and peace, you use that to penetrate and understand the nature of reality. You're not doing it just for the sake of calming the mind, because there are more deeper existential issues. But the Buddha said something else as well. He said that you cannot calm the mind unless one lives a disciplined life. So meditation is just not enough. Because how many times have you seen, and we know that if we are, imagine we are, let's take an extreme example. We are murderers, or we are thieves, or we've just stolen a large sum of money or something. How can you calm your mind if you have done negative actions such as those? And of course, in other religious traditions as well, there is a lot of focus on morality. These are the parameters within which one lives your life. There's the right and the wrong. In Buddhism, there is the Panchashil, which you probably have heard of, the 5 precepts. Abstaining from taking life, abstaining from taking what is not given to you, which is stealing, abstaining from sensual misconduct, abstaining from false speech, and abstaining from intoxicants as tending to cloud the mind. These are things that are given to us through the ages, through thousands of years, that if one were to live within these parameters, one creates an easier sense of living within these folds, which helps us to then calm our mind, which then helps us to penetrate and understand reality more deeply. At the end, I want to talk about integrity, which is basically, with all of the rights and wrongs, keeping your discipline and morality even when others are not watching, right? I mean, this is basically a very simple view of integrity. Are we able to do that or not? If we want happiness, we need to be able to do that. At least that's what the Buddha has taught us. In summary, we have discipline and morality, which are provides the parameters. Meditation to calm your mind. Deepen your understanding with Vipassana meditation, ultimately releasing you from all suffering and existential anxiety. Of course, when you actually do that, you're called enlightened. Most of us will not get there. And even for those of us who cannot attain enlightenment, there are benefits. So this will help us if we take up these teachings and related teachings. It will help us to become more aware and effective leaders. I just want to loop back to our primary focus of the event. And in whatever we choose to do, you'll be more centered. And as a result, it'll help us to remain happy and peaceful as well. So I want to leave it at that. Thank you so much. And I will stop the sharing now.
Thank you, Dr. Arun. And allow me to share just few thoughts myself, being a meditator myself for the past 17 years. And I was living and working in the US, and what I realized was the work-life balance. You have the social life, you have work life, and then you have family life. So bringing it all together, I found it very difficult. I mean, it put such a drain and strain on me. And then my husband traveling with his work, and then raising up children. So all of those put together, and I'm sure all of us have gone through it or are going through it right now. So with the Art of Living Foundations, one of the things what I learned 16 years ago was basically the nature of a human mind, how it wants to vacillate into the past and the future constantly. And there's no way we have a way to control at the level of the mind. So it wants to go to the past, Bhutkal, Bhavishyakal, Bhutkal, constantly. And regardless of where you are from, you could be a Chinese, you could be African, you could be German, you could be Nepali, Indian, whatever. But the nature of the human mind is it wants to vacillate. And when it goes into the past, it's all about regrets and anger emotions. Into the future, it's about anxiety. So once I realized that, then how is it you can bring it to the present? It's easy for people to say, oh, keep a smile on your face, be happy, Moonji, Shekharji, please stay happy and don't worry, don't take stress. But the how to is the technique and the tools we really need to learn. And that's what I feel I learned about 16 years back. And I thought once I quit my job, I was a banker, I was working as vice president, so there was a lot of pressure with credit unions. And once I quit that, and I said I wanted to become more of a social worker, a volunteer. And then now it's enjoyable to be sharing what I've learned and how it helped me during my work life, just to balance life itself. And another point I really wanted to share is acceptance. Right now, whatever is happening, the more we don't accept, to all the youth, we don't accept situation as they are or people as they are. Why do we need to accept? For our own self, for our own peace of mind. So if our mind is already overactive, by going to the past and future, the vacillation constantly, now you don't accept situations and people, now it's compounded. So we think stress in life happens because of finances, because of bad relationships, because of politics and the COVID situation. The biggest stress factor in our life is really our overactive mind, is what I came to realize. So the more with meditation and awareness, it has really helped to bring more balance, helped me to bring my mind more focused and to the present moment. So just wanted to share a little of that with you all. And the holistic well-being, which Moonji shared before, this is what we are really sharing with the community at this point. Before we go to questions, everybody please share your questions in the chat so we can read it out. We have, and I'm going to please get all of your permission, the viewers, for another 10 or 15 minutes at the max so we can get your questions. Before that, I really wanted to thank few individuals. That is the IT gurus, Prithvi Bikram Shrestha, Gaurav Kandil, Rabindra Dital, Nigam Paudil, Team Nepo, and our senior facilitator, Pavan Nepal from Chitwan. He has 20,000 viewership. So all of them are going live, with the Facebook page. Really appreciate, along with Silver Mountain School of Hotel Management, Xavier Academy, Kathmandu Engineering College. Miss Rachana Thapa tells me they have at least 70,000 viewers. So it's really good, whatever the outcome is of today's. Hopefully many will benefit and people will get to view. So let's go to some of the questions we have. From Mr. Prabir Rana. For Mr. Shekhar Golchha, is the government imposed lockdown an effective strategy for COVID control or just an ill-advised plan that would adversely affect the economy? Mr. Shekhar.
Yes, that's a question I've been answering. A lot of my friends have been asking me my opinion on it. I strongly feel that the lockdown, the main purpose is you buy time to prepare yourself for creating quarantines or upgrading your hospital facilities or something like this. We had a lockdown of 4 months and we didn't do anything because we thought this situation is never going to come. And now can we afford the luxury of a lockdown again? I mean, are we preparing what we are supposed to do? Now we're talking about quarantine centers. Isn't it too late? Because right now, I think we might just peak in next 15 days. So I just feel that, we have not understood what is the purpose of the lockdown. Of course, the Chinese lockdown was complete isolation. They even provided food inside your house. We do not have the infrastructure to do this. Still today, when we are under lockdown, you see people buying their groceries, people going to certain offices, banks are open. I mean, it's a half-hearted sort of lockdown what we have. People are still coming in through, in Kathmandu, people are going out. They have not been able to completely seal the cities. So I just feel that, it's a wastage once again. We cannot afford this luxury of lockdown. I'll call it a luxury because it's like we think that the lockdown is really going to solve all our problems. It's not going to happen that way. This disease is going to peak in Nepal. Unfortunately, we're going to lose a lot of people. We must be mentally prepared. I mean, it's happened in where the medical facilities was brilliant, and it will happen here as well. But I think the lockdown, with the sort of lockdown what we have been doing right now, has got no purpose at all.
Thank you, Mr. Shekhar. Let's go to the next question. Okay, from Mr. Prajwal Luitel for DG Rajib Pokhrel. How can we youth contribute to our community, especially in this condition when government has posed lockdown? DG?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Good question, actually. That's the challenge, actually, we are also facing, actually, like lockdown, how can we help? But I guess, like, from your home also, you can identify places. I always say, like, your surrounding areas where, people could be suffering. They may be needing a small, small help and all, So from there itself, you can do right now. During the lockdown period, it is going to be difficult. But, I remember just this morning, like, there was a police post just opposite my house. And while talking to them, they said, what do you need? While I was walking, like, I cannot go to the gym. So I was just talking to one of the traffic police there. And he said, sir, I'm not getting mask. So I had the mask in my vehicle. So I thought I'll go and give it to them tomorrow. So what I'm trying to say is, around your area also, like during the lockdown period, maybe you can identify things that, that those people who may be needing help. If not, at least an awareness program, as a Rotaract, as a Rotarians, we can go and, talk to the locals there, and you can do an awareness program. So small things can be done. But I can understand, like, right now we cannot do it. Day for yesterday, when I had to take this helicopter, there was a lot of things that such a long process. Griha Mantralayama gaera 3 din lagaera dunia tyo permit haru liera yahabata airport gharबाट airport janalai, all that thing, and so many places they stopped us, they asked where you going, all. So it is going to be difficult for movement. But apart from that, I think you can have those small programs, within your locality, maintaining those social distance and, talking to those people who may be needing help, so those things can be done right now. Or through virtually also, I think you can organize a program, an awareness program with different people. You have all these people around Nepal. That's a big advantage that we Rotarians and Rotaracts have. We have like people all around Nepal where we can, talk to them also, and exchange ideas and things, what they are doing. So at least you can keep yourself busy and, try to motivate each other, all those things. But once, and then again, the best thing would be to prepare. Lockdown khule pachi ke garne bhanera, this is the time to prepare actually. So this is a big opportunity that you have right now to prepare yourself. So once the lockdown is over, then you can like jump into action and, and start doing things. So these are the little things that you can do. But apart from that, I can understand the big things, it's not possible right now. But that's, I guess, it's only going to be temporary. We're not going to go on like with this lockdown thing forever. So, but then, there will come a time when, again, we have to go out on the field and start working. Thank you. I've answered this question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is great. So do we have another question on the screen? Okay, from Mr. Manoj Pal. For Dr. Arun Joshi, I've worked with 3 different managers till now and experienced their leadership and management styles. and 2 of them worked in what can be described as just the light testai and bossy attitude. One of them was exceptional and empathetic, but couldn't last long with the management. So does being empathetic really work, or we should also resort to authoritarianism sometimes? Which path should I choose to bring out the better in myself? Dr. Arun.
I know. It's a as an attitude. I mean, that is what we see from research, that that having empathy and being able to motivate your staff, as has been also described by some of the other panelists in terms of how they drive their staff and motivate their staff and reach out to them and all that. That is really the effective leadership style. I mean, of course, you know, as we said, you know, you have to be realistic, and you have to also be, you know, particularly with respect to different contexts, you have to be adaptive. We also talked about that. So, I mean, it's not just a one size fits all, or this is the only way in which you have to run your life. You have to be skillful as a leader, and as an effective leader, you are, because you adapt to different circumstances. So in some circumstances, you might have to be firm and tough, and in other circumstances, as a general approach, you and being firm doesn't make you less empathetic. I mean, you can be very firm because you understand that you know, that firmness gets the best out of the other person. So I think it's more of a it depends positioning. But certainly this whole notion of, oh, just like Kestai, and then you always so all the staff require beating, you know, that's the only way that they're going to do well. That seems like a misguided approach. I think that would be totally out of whack. Thank you.
Any further questions we have on the screen? I guess we come to the end of our program. Is there one more question? Okay. Supriti Upadhyay for Ms. Moon Pradhan. For middle-level management professionals and the turnovers in the job market here in Nepal and globally, what is your suggestion for them to leap forward and also to be stable in these turbulent times? Ms. Moon.
Thank you for the question. For a middle management, this is a very tricky place to be, because you're between the employees that you are supervising, and at the same time you have your own supervisor who is telling you things to do, which is most probably beneficial for the organization and not necessarily beneficial for the employees. You really have to think about the organization as a whole. I know when I say organization as a whole, it sounds like you have to think about what the supervisor is saying or the bosses are saying, but it's more about how you understand that, again, I will say this is a teamwork. So how you understand how to bring about the best from your team and move forward. And for that, you really need to hone your skills yourself. Just like the earlier question, you really need to understand how to deal with people, especially when you are in middle management, so that you are able to do your job well and be appreciated both by the team that you're working with as well as by your supervisor. Because it's not always that the supervisor will say, like, you didn't listen to me. they will also understand if you are able to sit with them and talk to them. It's very important that you have good communication with both the sides, and you also understand what you are supposed to be doing. What is your role? Sometimes you might be asked to do a lot more than what is your role actually and what you can do. At that time, you have to tell your bosses also, your supervisors also, that this is really not under my purview and this is something that I may not be able to do, and ask for their help. They will always be happy to help. At the same time, sometimes you might think that your team or the people that you're supervising are saying and demanding things that are very awkward for you also. But you can also talk to them, make them understand, listen to them first. As a middle management, it is even more important that you have very good listening skill. That's another skill that you want to hone. And if you are able to do these, have good communication, have good listening, if you're able to see the goal, if you're able to work as a team, you will be able to make your presence felt. And if you're good in middle management, your bosses or those in the right places will notice you. And that means you will most probably not be in middle management for a long time. I hope I've answered your question. Over to you, Neeva.
Thank you, Munji. I think you did by explaining all that. What I want to now do is like invite any of our viewers, especially the youth group. Any of our panelists, all of our panelists actually are part of service-driven organizations besides having their own businesses, you know, in certain way. Even with Mr. Shekhar, you know, they run this NYEF, the youth organization, who are also helping us. They're part of us. And then obviously Zonta group, and then Toastmasters is like serving yourself, you know, honing in on your skills. Then obviously DG Rajib Pokhrel ji, he talked about community service, and Rotary, I've been a part of it for many years, and it gives so many opportunities to serve our community. So to look into that, the Rotary Club of Kathmandu Midtown, we are there. And what I want to say is, I want to really welcome one of our patrons and also charter members, Ms. Ambika Shrestha. I think she's here on the screen. But what I want to say is invite, and also the Art of Living Foundation has so many service projects. So we are waiting for people, first of all, to hone in on your skills, your potentials, you know, that you can draw out, and then to be able to go out to the community and give back. So any of these organizations would be more than willing. And during this time of COVID, when you have so much more time on your hand, to really develop your own potentials and skills. If there's no more questions, I would like to end with a quotation that would be appropriate to today's discussion. And this is by founder of the Art of Living Foundation, humanitarian philanthropist, Sri Ravi Shankar. His writings and his teachings has inspired me over the last 16 years, has helped me to stay centered. And this goes like this: success means crossing a limit. To cross a limit, you need to assume that you have a limit. So to cross a limit, you need to assume that you have a limit. Assuming a limit is underestimating yourself. If you have no boundaries, then where is your success? If you have limitless access, then there is no success. You do not say that you successfully drank a glass of water because it is well within your capabilities. But when you do something that is beyond your perceived limits, you claim success. So something beyond your capability, your boundaries, is what we call success. When you realize your unboundedness, then no action is an achievement. So I'd like to leave with that thought. Want to thank everyone for your extremely valuable time. And again, if I've missed out thanking anyone on our IT team who have been doing live streaming on their Facebook pages, please know that we appreciate each and everyone's help to bring these panelists, their thoughts, their ideas to the larger mass. And again, all of you, all our esteemed panelists, thank you so much for being here, for your time and effort. Really have enjoyed working with you, I would say. And Mr. Shekhar, 7 o'clock. Okay, so this was fun, this was enjoyable. Everyone on the screen, thank you so much. I don't think there is any more questions. I think all of you really did an excellent job. sharing and also answering questions. And Dr. Arun Joshi is actually logging in from Washington, D.C., Virginia. So it's early morning for him, and it's later in the evening for us. Now it's dinner time. And enjoy your dinner, enjoy your evening with your family, and have a beautiful, wonderful week ahead.